Test.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Test, test.
Are we having any other board members come?
They are all ghosts, but they're calling in.
Except,
Yeah, I'm not sure if Tom's calling in.
Testing mic stand for this room full of people.
Jeff, do we expect Tom to be calling in, gentlemen? Or is Tom not going to be present? Okay.
Dan's on the horn.
Dan's on the phone.
And Russ is on with me.
All right.
Bottom line is, it's not this total, it's actually.
Okay. All right, very good.
What's that? Yeah, I got Russ here. Yep.
Oh.
Should we say Grandpa on the line?
Ooh, Grandpa. Girl or boy, Grandpa?
Oh.
Oh, there you, it's a he, yay.
Okay. Yep, that's gonna be here. Mm-hmm.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're starting up a little early today because we had the announcement for a special session board meeting. We have to review and vote on the new insurance policy for the 2026-2027 policy year. Our current policy, well, I don't want to get into this right now. So going to call the regular board meeting to order. We're going to have just that one topic, and then we'll move on to the board workshop afterwards.
Do you want to do the pledge?
Yeah, so we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next up, determination of a quorum.
Good morning, Board in Summer Glen. We do have a quorum. We have 4 board members present and 2, which is Dan and Russ calling in, and they are on the line here.
Okay, very good.
And the meeting was noticed in accordance of Florida Statute 720 and the Summer Glen governing documents.
Thank you very much. Did we have anybody sign up
For afterwards.
for the workshop, and just for the board meeting? Is anybody sign up for the special board meeting?
I don't think you're for the regular.
Okay, so we have no resident input on agenda items. So, I guess, start to say, this is a special board meeting. We scheduled it to precede the workshop meeting because we have our insurance policy, insurance policies, I should say, expire at the end of April. We got the quotes in prior to or after the last month's workshop, this month's board meeting, so we couldn't get it on the agenda in time to have proper notification. So we're having the special board meeting today to review the insurance policy and then the discussion about whether we're going to finance the premiums or not. So the first agenda item is for the board vote on the insurance policy renewal. So in our packet is, I guess it's 31 pages related to the insurance policy. So Tom has been working with the insurance company, Acrisure, on this. And if you flip to page 28, this is kind of the summary of everything. So it lists all the different policies, and then the 25-26 premium was just under $190,000. The quote that we have for the 2026-2027 premiums is $172,700.79. So about a little bit more than $17,000 reduction from previous year, which is great news. But the insurance coverages are all basically the same as last year. There's been some switches in different carriers on some items, I believe, but overall it's a $17,000 reduction from last year's premiums. So does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed 26-27 insurance package as presented here.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? No?
It's good news.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so since there's no further discussion, let's have a vote. All those in favor of accepting the proposal signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, okay, thank you very much. And then the second item on the agenda is concerning whether we're going to pay the premium up front or whether we're going to do financing. When the insurance rates start going really crazy, we didn't have enough money in cash flow, so we had done financing in previous years. This year, Tom's reviewed it, looked at our cash situation, and Tom, as our treasurer, has recommended that we do not go with a financing package that's in our board packet. The rate for financing was 7.25%, and then there's like a loan origination fee plus the financing charges. So by not financing, it would save us about $5,100 for this policy year. So Tom, as our treasurer, has recommended we do not finance. So with that, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move that we accept Tom's recommendation to not finance the premiums.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, so those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion is unanimous, passes. Thank you very much, everyone. So that wraps up our special session board meeting. We can move forward with getting those binders signed and make sure our insurance stays intact as the current policies expire at the end of the month. Motion to adjourn the board meeting?
I'll move we adjourn the board meeting. I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Board meeting is adjourned. The resident input, I'll wait until after the workshop. Okay, so now we can move on to our workshop meeting. As a formality, do we need to go through the proper notification?
No, we notified everything at the same time.
Okay. So we do have resident input here. Okay, so Carol Steck.
Good morning, Carol Steck, Lot 1006. Speaking on the agenda item about the proposed restroom remodels, specifically the part under the women's bathroom where they are proposing to remove 2 of the stalls to make a changing room. My first question, is this a need or is this a want? And if it's a want, is it a want of a few people? I am not in favor of this, without understanding that, no, there's, 50 people that are clamoring for this. One thing I foresee is, okay, now I'm assuming it's people from the pool who want to change for some reason here instead of going home to change. It's not like you drive miles and miles to come to the pool. I foresee, wet suits, wet floor. Are we opening ourselves to some possibility of risk or liability? Do we all of a sudden have parents who are visiting who, let's change the kids there, we don't want the mess at home? But more importantly, from a female perspective, one of the most common complaints you will hear from women is in public facilities, the inadequate number of restrooms. And to take away 2 of them for a changing room that may or may not be used, and quite frankly, I don't understand why they can't just change in the existing stalls. I come up and I think about things like the 4th of July, the various veterans meal things that they do, the 4th of July, Memorial Day, that we have large gatherings. You're going to decrease the number of restrooms. It's going to be an issue. My husband and I go walking typically in the evenings, and we come up to the RSO to get our mail. And on every Thursday night, depending on what time it is, there's a string of ladies coming from bingo to get over there. I guess they take breaks or whatever, and they can't all get in the restrooms back here. They're using the restrooms in the RSO. So to propose to eliminate 2 of them, as a female, I am adamantly opposed to that, so please reconsider that. Thank you.
Okay, that closes out the resident comments. So move on to the workshop agenda under item 6, business. So the first item on our agenda is the Grand Hall lighting project. So in our packet we have quotes from 3 different companies. We have Ferguson Electric, Grant Electric, and Tropical Electric. Before we get into the details, I just want to do kind of a little bit of an update. On the summary sheet, Kevin, that you gave us that has the cost for each, we still don't have quite an apples-to-apples comparison. So on the Ferguson quote, they had the different options, but apparently the way their quote package generates the quote, it takes all the options and adds them all in. And it rolls all together. Even though you may not be taking all the option, it includes it all. So the sheet that I handed to the board members and to Marie, I gave you a copy as well. The correct number from Ferguson, it should not be the 20,654. It's more in the line of about 17,600 instead of the 20,654, based on 55 can lights. Actually, how do I want to say this without getting too confusing? There's total 51 can lights that are in the proposal. It's in the drawing that we have. 10 of those are up here on the stage. The other 45 are out in the general area. So one of the things we said is take out the can lights up here on the stage because Kevin was trying out some bulbs. So have to take out the can lights and then add the outside can lights as an option. So with those taking out the can light changes here and adding in the exterior can lights around the various entrances, that's what rolls up to the 17,600 approximately. And then on the Grant Electric quote, their quote didn't break out the can lights for up here on the stage as a deduct. So I just did a quick math. I took their quote divided by 55 can lights, got a cost per can light, subtracted out 10. So that's about a $900 deduction, actually $897 deduction from their $20,972. So it puts it right down to almost $20,000 even. And then Tropical Electric, they just gave us a single number, so I couldn't adjust theirs. But their quote is for all 55 can lights, not subtracting out the 10 on the stage. So their $17,659 is probably about $800 or $900 less than what's showing here, if you take out those 10 can lights. So with that, I want to jump to the drawing that's in our packet. So this has everything color-coded. The can lights are what's in blue. The green are the flat panel fixtures, 2 foot by 4 foot, that are currently fluorescent fixtures that would be replaced with LEDs. And then the orange highlighted ones are the 18 fixtures that have a battery backup for emergency lighting. So this sheet says can lights is 55, which is really 45 for out there and plus the 10 here on the stage. The main panels, 54, and then panels with emergency lighting, another 18. So that's what everybody's been quoting on, is this color-coded package. So,
Russ has a question. Go ahead, Russ.
Do we need a permit for this?
Yes.
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 Yeah, Ferguson's quote specifically broke out a permit cost. The other two vendors, I don't see anything specifically, but I think they also agree that it's included in their pricing is the permit.
I thought Grant did
Okay.
include it. But
Did it? Was it?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
But all three have at least verbally confirmed that.
Yeah, permanent inspections on Grant. I see it on the front page, and just let me look real quick here for the.
Right, it was
Oh, yeah, $300. Yeah, okay, it is broken out, yeah.
I thought I read
Yeah,
that.
and then tropical.
Tropical, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on tropicals.
I was very clear that they needed to include the permitting price,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in your specs or your scope. But the quick answer, Russ, is yes, it needs a permit.
So all three vendors, is a 1-year warranty on labor and 5-year warranty on the lighting fixtures themselves. That's the manufacturer's warranty. Trying to think what else. I mean, this includes removal and disposal of the old fixtures. So we don't have a bunch of fixtures laying around in the scrap heap. So they take care of hauling that all off.
Well, I think it's important, Jeff, to do this. All you got to do is look at the ceiling. We know we need to do this.
Yeah, you just look out there and you see how many fixtures aren't working.
So I do want to say that separately from these, since we're going to be up there, we are going to be cleaning the vent system. And then after we clean the vent system, so we have the lights done, clean the vent system, and after the vent system is cleaned, the vent cleaner will actually help us put new registers out here, and they will help us with a cost to replace all of the bad tiles and all of that. So we're not going to just swap out the lights and then we see really ugly stuff. We're going to do the whole thing.
Yeah, but we don't have quotes on that portion of it yet.
No, we don't. But we do have some materials, and so we're, it's once everybody's up there, I think that we're going to be able to do it in a reasonable manner.
So again, we're not voting on anything. We're just making sure we don't have any other questions before we put this on the agenda for the May board meeting.
The only thing I saw in the Ferguson quote, and it wasn't included in the price, was doing, I got to use the exact wording, some kind of bizarre switching. We said we wanted to keep the switches the way they are, manual light switches. He talked about,
I think there was a recommendation there, but it's not included in this
adding
quote.
energy efficient lighting controls which I have no idea what that even means, and integration of lighting into the Control 4, which I think puts the lights on Wi-Fi that was a problem in the restaurant when the internet went down. So I think our scope of work keeps it on light switches.
Standard type of controls. You'd
Which
see-
is good for people like me to operate if I need to. So I think that's important for the residents to know that we're gonna just not change any of the controls per se, just the
Right.
fixtures. I think that's a good idea, to just leave it as is.
Yeah.
It's really not integral to the propriety of the project, but has anybody ever come up with any kind of an estimate of what kind of savings we might be getting on an ongoing basis with all the LEDs versus what we have now, or is that just too hard to calculate? Obviously, there's going to be some LEDs operate much less expensively than fluorescents,
Yeah.
but it's probably a
We, you know,
hard
we have the one electric meter for the building, and it includes the air conditioning and everything else. But I guess our contractors could probably do a rough calculation based on the number of fixtures. Okay, the fluorescent's going to consume this much power, the LED's going to consume this much, and come up with an annual savings.
It might
potential.
just be an interesting number to have.
Yeah,
It might be.
yeah. It should be a relatively easy calculation.
Yeah, we can reach out. So we'll reach out and make sure the rest of these, again, in terms of the options are all very straightforward. So when it comes time to vote, we're looking at exactly apples to apples on these. Because I know we've gone back and forth a few times on color lights, no lights, exterior lights. So
Right.
once we're like certain this is what we want to do, we'll make sure these are all cleaned up for the board meeting.
Do we want color, the colored lights were on the stage?
Yeah, so as Kevin's trying to, there's 10 can lights along here on the stage. I think 8 of them, oh, okay, Kevin's going to do a little demo for us.
Oh, a demo.
So these are just replacement bulbs. You just unscrew the old bulb, put the new bulb in. And can you kill the fluorescence? So this is just a bulb swap out, and then it has a remote that each individual bulb is a slave to the remote.
Oh, sexy.
Still a couple more we got to get. We were limited on purchase quantities. There must be a full shortage out there.
So you've already done this?
Yeah, this was inexpensive. It was like a $40 experiment.
Okay, but they would change to LED.
Want to go that way?
Or we just stay with this.
Stay with this, yeah?
You know, because the color option was,
Yeah, you can, say we want them all one color. There you go.
1,600.
yeah, almost $1,700 on the one quote, and another quote was,
Where's the hot tub?
Huh,
So,
neat, okay.
simple solution if you want to go that way.
yeah. So that's why we had asked them to break it out, so
Yes, I see what.
don't touch the 10 can lights that are here on the stage as one of the options.
And you've, in this spreadsheet, you didn't add it in on this spreadsheet
Yeah.
with Ferguson. Okay, I get it.
The other item is, there's been controversy over the disco ball. The disco ball in the light has not worked in many years. If we're gonna be up there, we're just gonna check it out, see what the issue is. If the motor's dead, we know that it can be replaced for a small amount, and we just need to make sure that the lights
Yeah.
work and the
Diane,
ball.
can you
and
come up to the microphone for 1 second, please?
Yeah, and while the lift is here, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Are you aware whether that is a battery-operated motor, or is it a hardwired motor?
I think it's hardwired. I'm not sure exactly though, but it was gifted from a resident. So, and then it got installed. Robbie didn't put it in. Well, Robbie eventually put it in, I guess, but it was gifted from a resident. I know that.
And I understand the lights themselves don't work, so it might just be burned out bulbs as well.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's necessary. I mean, you can even just leave it there. It's decorative, but that's about it. I mean, cost-wise, I don't really know.
Cost-wise, it's
Yeah.
gonna be probably under $200 to put a new motor and put new lights in case somebody wants to use it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be using disco balls for these people because that's going to throw off a lot of people. I'm just saying.
Okay, but, okay. All right, anything else on this topic, on the lighting?
I'm glad to see we're moving forward with it.
Yes, yeah, I mean,
Long overdue.
it's long overdue, absolutely. Anything from Dan or Russ?
Dan, Russ, any comments on the mirror ball?
Dan, no comments from Dan?
No comment.
Okay. All right, so we should have this ready to go for the May board meeting for approval, so we can get this building taken care of with relamping. Okay, next agenda item is scope of work for the potential RSO bathroom remodel. So Marie, do you want to kind of, you've done a lot of work on this, do you want to walk us through?
Yes, so DRB, F&G, Miss Glenda, she's helped quite a bit. These are just items, it's all very general. No decisions have been made. We've received calls about people saying, oh my gosh, you're gonna put a hand blower and take away the paper towels. No, we're just considering, instead of having 2 paper towels, having 1 blower and 1 paper towel to kind of cut back on the expense. But it's a consideration. This is what we see and what we feel as a committee and myself just going in there with them that would need improvement. The situation is that the restrooms and the handicap portions of our restrooms in the RSO are not up to code. So once you start, the enclosures are not to code, because I thought, oh, we'll save the enclosures, we'll put a new floor and a new counter and we'll be fine. Well, we really need professionals that know all the codes to be able to give us a scope of work and give us some drawings so that we can see what really is allowed and what's really needed. So what I'm hearing from this company, which is, I invited 2 companies, one of them did not talk about any kind of code, and so that worried me. This company, Baker Construction, spoke about all the codes, said that you have to have a 5-foot radius in the handicap stall in order for it to be up to code, and we're short by 1.5 feet.
But we are grandfathered in.
We are grandfathered in.
But if there's any significant renovation done, you have to bring it up to the latest code.
That is correct.
Is
So
that based on an amount of money?
I
Sometimes
think it's probably, the
50%.
scope of work is probably more it.
Okay.
So our main concern in there is always the flooring. The flooring is always very bad. In the gentleman's room, it's the waterless urinals. The 2 things that are way out of, code are the handicap bathroom size and the countertops. The countertops are too high, they need to be a little bit lower. So those things are the ones. Now, we are grandfathered in, we can leave everything the way it is, and then, or we can go ahead and try to get something and see how much it would be to bring everything up nice and neat. The other item is that we will not close all the bathrooms at the pool. Half of the bathrooms will be done, half the other ones will be open. That's the way that they projected they would do it. The family bathroom that's outside and the family bathroom that's inside, those are all handicap bathrooms. They're all great. The toilets are great, the sinks are great. The deal there is that the floors are that weird sticky stuff. And so the floors just can never get clean anymore. So the floors are the main focus in there. We're not really wanting to change anything. What was the other item I wanted to say to you? Somebody said something about the stall. Of course, the stall, we would have to know whether if we take out a stall or 2 bathrooms, 2 toilets, would that still be, okay? So they're gonna check that out. They believe so. They believe we have a lot more toilets than we really need, but again, that's something that hasn't been decided. And the bathrooms, those bathrooms should be wet bathrooms. That means that whatever we put on the flooring should cover at least halfway up the wall so that literally when we have issues, we can hose those babies down because we do have interior spigots to do that. But at this moment, we can't do it because we have drywall. So the scope would be that these bathrooms would be wet bathrooms.
Kind of like what you see in the bathrooms here in the Grand Hall, how the tile goes up.
Yeah. Now, Marie, just my code training way back when was New York State, but you were required to have X number of fixtures based on occupancy.
Right.
So that would be an important definition. We don't want to get in trouble by removing fixtures.
No.
But that's, you have an architect and engineering, so
That is
they'll
correct.
check all that.
So this company.
I don't know what Florida code would
Right.
say.
This company has all of the people that need to be involved to get a permit, do it up to code, being able to pass all the inspections, and they're not going to recommend anything that is not going to be code related.
Right.
So in the women's bathroom, you have 3 sinks, but the sinks are all jumbled up together. The idea was just to spread those out and then just put a new countertop in there. Someone asked about the mirrors. Well, you know, it's really hard to move a mirror and not get it damaged. So most of the time, they'll just price out new mirrors because those walls will need to be repainted and everything else. So the cost of mirrors is not that much. Plus, we're getting new fixtures that come from our new Ecolab company and Veritiv. Those are coming next month. And we want to be able to have fixtures in certain, dispensers and stuff like that that are easier to get to and more comfortable for folks. So splitting up mirrors might be the thing to do. I say might. Remember, I'm not an architect. This is just the concept that we came up with as to what possibly could change. When they bring in a concept, then it'll be a decision to make and look at and say, yes, this fits what we want, this is, or no, let's change this. So they'll work with us to get it just right. We will not be taking out the paper towels. The paper towels will stay, they will remain. So just hang in there, it's a concept. Well, that's what we're saying. So the stalls in the men's bathroom, and like I said, that's the problem. In the men's bathroom and in the women's bathroom, the stalls for the handicap are not big enough if we were to make improvements. So I don't know if they're able to move the stalls out or if we would need to get new stalls. So again, that I do not know, but I do know that the radius for a handicap wheelchair is not adequate. Right now, we're grandfathered in, but it's not up to code in there for the handicap toilet area.
Does anybody know the urinals that are in the men's room? Were those swapped out at one time? Did they used to be flushable and then got swapped out to the non-flush?
We do know there's piping behind that wall, right? Do you know, Dan?
Yes, they were changed out.
They were changed out.
Okay, so at some point, somebody said, hey, let's get some water savings, be environmentally friendly, let's switch to the non-flush urinals. So now we're saying, okay, there's housekeeping issues with that, a lot of smell associated with it.
Right.
So let's switch back to the flushable.
Now, it's my understanding the pipes are just behind the wall, and it's not going to be a complicated thing to go back to the flushable ones.
But again, if we decide to go down this path, we need to have an understanding is there any movement afoot, certainly now that we have the drought, it's just going to highlight things, to be water conservation conscious and them not want the county say, no, if you're going to do any renovation, it needs to be the unflushable type.
Possible. I was just asking Marie that same question. I could see with the drought, they're going, no, we want everyone using eco-friendly, so unknown at this point.
So if we decide to move forward with this, it will most likely require architectural drawings. So you just have some budgetary number that's, I believe, was $7,000 for architectural drawings?
So it's, no, it's 8,280.
Okay.
What they would do is architectural and engineering plans.
Which would be required by the county. Because
Yes.
this will be permitted required work.
And then the general contractor fees, so that would be like facilitation, site visit, supervision, all of that stuff.
That's included in the 82, or that's?
Yes, that's included in the 82. So it's 7,200 for the architectural and engineering, 1,080 for the general contractor fee. And so in order to be able to get it done properly with the proper people that know what they're doing and know all the codes and can get this right through, we would need to hire someone, and that's what their cost would be.
As far as the family bathrooms, you know, we had a little conversation one time, a week or so ago about, could the family bathrooms be used as the changing area? So you got,
They could. They could be used as a changing area. I guess the family bathrooms, we could, instead of taking out more toilets, just go ahead and put a bench in there. But again, you got to remember, you have to have enough radius for a wheelchair to
Right.
be able to go in there. So we could figure it out, I think. I think they're big enough. Not sure, but we can look into that, and that's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
Yeah.
any other?
Yeah, I agree with Carol, taking out the two stalls to put a changing room in there. I think we ought to just stay with what we have and then improve it and get our okay from the county and the permits. But to change it to a changing room, I'm not in favor of that at all.
Thank you, Dan. So, I mean, for example, the family bathrooms, they have things now where it can be anchored to the wall, and they have benches that can just fold down so a person can sit, change their shoes out. We can put hooks so they can put their stuff up there. It's all very possible. This is all just suggestion.
That probably makes the most sense.
That's probably going to be more affordable.
Yeah. Why it makes the most sense.
Logical since they're up at the pool already.
Right,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think the concept, though, is that we need to realize that those bathrooms should be considered wet bathrooms.
I understand.
And at one time, some kind of adhesive flooring was put in there that's really not adequate for that type of bathroom. And so if we decide to go the route of doing it correctly, we need to bring it back to what it truly should be, since they're considered bathrooms for the pool area.
Is there a drain in all the bathrooms right now on the floors?
Yes, there is a drain in each of the bathrooms on the floor. All of them.
Go with the wet, it would be a lot easier to clean, power wash, everything. I agree. The floor would be a big improvement.
Yes, sir, that's correct. I don't know about power washing, but we would definitely, it would be a lot cleaner and a lot easier to maintain, not having to worry about the drywall. But I agree with you.
Now, in the handicap stalls now, there is a sink already in there.
Yes.
So,
So the sinks and the toilets are already the right level.
Okay.
Those areas are perfect except for the flooring.
right.
And
So
the space.
do the main sinks then need to be changed in height, or can they just stay the existing height since
No,
it?
those are all fine. I was told.
Oh, okay, I thought I heard
No, the
you say
sink-
that the sinks would have to be lowered in the main area.
Not in the family, in the main bathrooms, yes. The sinks would need to be lowered in the
Why?
men's and the, because they're
If
too
there's already
high.
a sink in the stall, I mean, if that's code, that's code. I mean, but
No, oh, no, you're talking about the handicap inside the bathroom.
yes,
Okay, the sink is fine, just the space around the toilet is not
right.
adequate.
So my question is, since there is a compliant sink
Yes.
in the handicap
Yes.
stall in the main bathrooms,
Yes.
do the sinks out in the main area need to be handicap compliant as well, or can they stay the existing height?
They should all be handicap accessible, is what I've been
Per
told.
code?
Per
Or-
code,
Or is that
that's-
just uniformity?
No,
So-
I can't answer that for you. I
Okay.
don't know code, but they told me they all need to be, they all need to be corrected. So if we change, they would all need to be corrected. I don't know. It's a question that we would
Yeah,
have to
it's
ask
something,
them.
yeah.
Not 100%, so we'll figure that out.
Well, logically, it would make sense if a handicapped person just went in to wash their hands and they weren't using the fixture.
Yeah, I have no.
That's probably why the code is-
obviously, we're gonna have to follow whatever the code is.
Right, that's probably why the code may be written that way. Just speculating.
I'm trying to think if there's any other questions we need before we. So how, without committing to a certain, and if we're gonna get multiple quotes, we're not gonna have all of them go out and spend the money to do architectural drawings. So how much of this can we get quoted without going to that architectural drawing stage?
So first of all, let's say that if we were building a house and I hired this company to do the architectural and engineering and all of that, I could pay that $7,200, and those I own. I own the architectural and engineering plans. Those are, they're owned, correct? That's what I'm understanding. Once you pay somebody to do it, you've already paid them for the service. You can take your plans and you can have anybody else build them if you want to. So, that's what I've always understood, but again, we can discuss this with them and ask.
Okay.
So like in the past, I have heard people say, well, I went to this architect and they drew up my dream house and I bought those plans from that architect.
Right.
And then I can take those plans and those engineering drawings and I can get quotes from anyone I want.
Well, we would have to then probably confirm that with this, just to make
Right, so
double check that.
this is not gonna be a very small build, so yes, you're gonna want some definitely estimates, because it's gonna be a hefty amount.
No, I meant on the architectural.
Oh,
plan.
yes, so
We
it,
want to make sure that we did own them at the end of
Got
the
it.
day,
Okay.
before we went to bid,
got it.
you know?
Yep.
That's all.
All right, so I will check with them on that.
Yeah. I think you're probably correct, but
Yeah.
we would need to know that.
Okay, so we have a bullet point scope of work. Do we need to, I think we need to add a little bit more definition to the scope of work, and so it's ready to send out to multiple vendors for quoting. This way, we're pretty certain what we're gonna get back is an apples to apples quote, not because we weren't very clear that somebody's quoting something completely different from another vendor.
I agree. I would just really appreciate if we had someone that was an engineer or that's an architect or something, somebody in the community that could bring this into something a little bit more professional. This is just, all of us in that committee just looking at it and going, okay, well, we're looking at this and this would make it better, this would make it better. Not necessarily, it's not written properly, I would say. So.
I don't know that we can do a scope of work until we have an architectural. I think this is the first piece, the architectural and engineering, and then we could create a scope of work off of that.
Well, I think-
to go to bid.
Yeah, but if we're saying, let's say, instead of doing the conversion of 2 of the existing stalls into a changing room, if we say, well, we're not gonna put that in the scope of the work, because we're gonna use
For the architect, yes.
Well, we can still adjust that. We can definitely, before we ever commit to an architect or an engineering plans or whatever and pay fees, we can adjust what it is that we want and say, okay, forget about changing that stall. Let's try to figure out how we make the family rooms into a changing area. And then, change things out as we want. But the person that's gonna define the true scope and the true needs for the property. Where are the pipes? Where's the electricity? How does this work? Does this need to go out backwards, forwards, whatever? Is going to be the architect and the engineer. And that we do have to hire.
So the other thing, Jeff, to your point, I would remove, I would not, I agree with Dan, I would not convert stalls inside the restroom.
Yeah.
I'd do the changing rooms as changing areas. But other than that, I don't know if we can do anything on the scope of work.
Well, I'm wondering if we can do the architectural drawings in like a two-stage approach. If we can get some very basic drawings that could be used for quote purposes, and then the final drawings that would be submitted to the county with the permit application. So the $7,200, maybe we can get, whatever, some number, half that amount or a quarter of that amount as upfront rough drawings for quoting purposes, and then the final drawings for an additional $5,000 or whatever, ready for submittal to the county.
It seems that we're going to get some architectural expertise involved at the front end. It would seem to make some sense to me as to maybe it would drive this number up a little bit, but to get some legitimate, experienced, competent architectural input into the scope of work.
Right.
People who actually have some experience and understand all of the ramifications. It would be extremely helpful for something like this when you actually go to a quote to have the thing pinned down spec. This is it. You tell me what it's going to take to build it.
Right.
And there's been so many times here where you get apples, oranges, salamis, and all this kind of stuff that we have with multiple bids. If you have the opportunity to involve an architect, you should be able to come out with a scope of work and a detailed plan of what you want, and then the construction companies will bid on that, and there'll be no ifs, ands, or buts, or what's
Right.
if it's in the quote. Give us a number to do that, and it's got to be the same for everybody. So it may be a little harder and longer on the front end, but in many respects, the slow way is the fast way in the end.
Right.
Because your issues dealing with the construction quotes would become very simple.
Yes, I agree with that. I don't know anything about codes, and neither do any of the people that I've been working with in the committees. So a professional is definitely needed. What I see is that this quote of 7,200, once we decide, okay, let's not take any stalls out. Let's just look at these bathrooms. How do we bring them up to code, and just how do we fix the flooring and so forth? We would get drawings that are very exact, and you can see down there where it says for color renderings. So there are some things, when they do color changes, they do other changes as well. So I think you're allowed about 4 changes to the plans before they're final, and then once they're final, if they are ours, then they belong to the community, and the community can go out. And you see that they're also quoting their general contractor fees. So whatever the cost of the materials are to actually do the build, he's saying that he would only charge $1,080 to actually, facilitate and make site visits and do supervision, which is then what we would want to go out there and say, okay, this is what we have. What would the costs be? Get a cost from him, get a cost from somebody else, and get a cost for the actual general contractor fees.
So, under the general contractor fee, it doesn't really it says a little bit. Is that facilitation, site visit, supervision for the entire project? Or is that just for the architect?
So what's happening is, no, that's
In other words, is he a construction manager?
general contractor would be your contracting manager. But remember, this price is if you use his architect and his engineer.
I understand.
Now, if you just do the architectural and engineering work, then when you go to somebody else, you're going to have to ask, hey, what's your general contractor fee? And then get an estimate for the work that needs to be done. So there's 3 steps. This drawing, all the professional stuff, all the nitty-gritty stuff that I don't know about. Then you're going to go out for bids on the materials, and then get the amount that a contractor would charge to supervise and make sure that the plans are executed as they should be.
I got lost in that answer.
Yeah, I think she's saying the same thing Bill did. So let me try to summarize. So for the May board meeting, it would be nice if we can get an updated quote from Baker that what our expectations would be is kind of what would be the cost to do the review as far as what needs to be done to make sure we're compliant with local code and latest updates of the code and everything else, and to put a package together that we could use for getting quotes to do the actual work. So that would be the first thing. He would provide that information to us, basically put together our scope of work for us with whatever information that any contractors would need in order to properly quote the project. Then the next portion of it is to do the full-blown drawings that would be needed by the county for permit submission and approval. So kind of what he's quoted here, updated to reflect, we really want help with developing the scope of the project and getting a package ready to turn over to contractors to bid on, and then the final architectural drawings for permit.
So in that 7,200, it does say full architectural drawings, and then over on the side it says architectural and engineering. So I'm thinking that their architect and engineer is working to get those drawings for you. So
Yeah,
that portion should be complete.
Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, so Jeff, on what you're saying, I mean, in the first phase of this, we really don't need stamped drawings. I mean,
Correct.
They're calling out signed and sealed drawings here. We don't need stamped drawings for the initial phase of this.
Right.
I mean, because our group may be making changes and stuff. So if we don't need stamped drawings out of the gate, that price should come down significantly. It's more conceptual than anything.
Yeah, but I think to Bill's point, let's hire someone with expertise that can put together a proper scope of work for us based on our input, so that when you can then turn over that scope of work to potential contractors, have them submit quotes, and then the next step would be to have Baker provide the final drawings, stamped engineered drawings for permit approval. So we don't have that first piece. And I don't, do you understand where we're trying to go, Marie?
I believe so. And I think that, Jeff, it might be also very good if the board could have a conversation with Mike Baker to, make sure that we get the information to him that needs to be there. But yeah, so we can call him, we can check with him, we can find out, what we can do.
Yep, okay, that'd be good. And it's good, I mean, it's great that, Baker just happened to be coming in here that one day. I happened to be in the RSO at that time. I mean, we've had other projects where we've been struggling to find a general contractor to take on some projects for us. He seems very willing to do that, and so good relationship maybe we want to start to foster there.
Yeah.
With all the permit and the scope of work, would it be a good idea possibly to have this all done in October, the same time the pool's going to be closed?
Wow, I don't know. I mean, it's very difficult if we're gonna shop this out to find trustworthy companies that we can get in here. I mean, we could go out there and ask for it, but I think the first thing would be to try to get this conceptual drawing, or the, whatever it is that the full drawings of what we want, and then after that, send it out there for bid, but
I
October
mean,
is
we
kind of-
know how long it potentially can take to get a permit approved through Marion County.
Right.
So I don't think, because we're looking at October for
Yeah.
the pool project. So
Yeah.
we're already at the end of April. So we've got May, June, July, August, September. We got 5 months to get all this ready and have a contractor on the schedule and have a approved permit in our hands. We need to be working on this now, and I think October 1 is probably not that unrealistic of a start date.
All right, we're gonna tell him, and then we're gonna say what happens and see how far we can go. We'll push it as much as we can. So I think the most important thing, like you said, is to know. And right now, this is what I needed to know. We needed to know. The committee threw stuff out there, and you're saying, no, don't take the stalls out. Okay, perfect. That's a big change. It's gonna be a money changer and a money saver. So let's not do those stalls. Let's figure out a way to make the changing areas out of the family ones. That'll work. That's fantastic. Big input. So that we can change with him right away.
Yeah, so I guess next step is to set up a meeting with Baker, have him come in, and whatever group you've already been working with, and then some of the board members sit in and just have that discussion. Anything else on this topic?
I don't think so. I don't.
No? Okay, so that concludes our workshop agenda. There's a bunch of other things that are being worked on that weren't quite ready to be discussed at a workshop. We're still getting some more information from vendors and so on, so it's just the 2 items for this meeting. Brings us to the item 7, director input. Any comments by any of the directors? Start with Dan and Russ. Either of you guys have anything?
No, everything looks good for me.
All good for Dan.
Dan's good. Russ, anything?
For me.
All right. Bill?
Pass? Pass.
I had, I'm going to be a pain in the neck on this. So I was looking at the CRF for the softball benches. I went over and looked at the softball, and yes, I'm good with replacing the benches, and it's minor money. But, so I went on Amazon just to look at what I guess Diane probably showed, what she picked. And of course, when you go on Amazon and look at something, several other benches show up that look identical, but they were less money. I was wondering why we always pick the most expensive bench we can find, that's all. It was only a couple $100 a bench. It's not a big deal, and I have no idea if they are equal benches. But it's just ironic that it reminded me of the $400 garbage cans. Just threw that out there. Sorry, Diane.
Yeah, so the CRF was originated by the Softball Association. So I copied them and Diane on some questions I had. And what's in the proposal is the plastic-coated expanded metal benches.
Correct.
And in the past several years, when we've been trying to transition away from those.
Oh.
Because as they get exposed to the UV sunlight and everything else, the plastic starts to get brittle and it cracks and it creates sharp edges.
And they rust.
So I asked for the Softball Association, have you guys considered other alternatives besides the expanded metal ones with the plastic coating on it? So I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why it's not on this agenda, because
Okay. Now, they are undercover, so they wouldn't be in as much sun. But
True.
I understand your concern.
so before we brought it to a workshop agenda, I want them to go back and
Research. Okay.
research it more. Is that still going to be their recommendation, or were they going to propose something different? There's aluminum ones out there. There's the recycled plastic ones out there. There's other options, but I just threw it out there. Have you guys considered these things?
Good. I withdraw my complaint.
Okay, so our next board meeting is scheduled for May 14th, and then tentatively scheduled a board workshop for May 28th. With that, motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Open up the floor for homeowner comments. What's that? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, we got Carol coming, okay.
While y'all were discussing, I did get a hold of Bob Atkins, who is our sort of resident lighting expert on the stage lighting, et cetera. He has confirmed that that is a hardwired strobe. And to the best of his recollection, he says the 2 little lights work. We may have to check to see whether the bulbs need to be replaced. So we can do that at some time. The other is, because we were talking about, there's only one light that needs a new bulb, which is the one on this end. It's called the Intimidator. If you're not sure of the type of bulb, I would reach out to Bob Atkins, because he's kind of been the, expert on all of this, because all the other ones are working. There's no problem whatsoever. They don't need replacement bulbs or gels or anything like that, so.
The one on the end?
Yeah, the one on the end,
Okay,
that
got it.
big black thing, it's called the Intimidator.
Got it.
That's the one that as far as we know, it's the bulb that's burned out, because when we turn it on, it moves and all that stuff, but there is no light. Okay. And I'll arrange with him to double check that whether these two lights for the strobe, if you're going to proceed with fixing that, to see whether those lights need new bulbs or anything in them. So just an update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Carol, is there a motor for that thing switch somewhere that you're aware of that should turn that thing on?
It runs off the light board. Yes, the portable light board, as I said, which is, not the most user-friendly, but that's how it works.
There are ones that, just like you have the remote for these trial lights here, they got the disco bulb motor. But the lights work off the board as well, not just,
And the disco ball works off the board.
so the lights and the ball itself work off the board, okay.
That's my understanding, or my recollection, yes.
Okay.
Because I was the last one that actually tried to get it to work 8.5 years ago.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll wrap up today. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, Russ. Have a good one, Grandpa to be.
You too.
Okay, see ya.
See ya.